What is up, everybody? A long time no see, I guess. Again, very sorry. I'm still not really mentally I'm not bad or anything, but I'm not feeling too energetic about doing many artistic things, to be honest. Just some, rough patch, I guess you can call it. But anyway, I did make a new arrangement for my social media and stuff like that. And it's not out as I'm recording this, but it's gonna be out tomorrow, so you'll be able to see. But anyway, it's a jazz standard. It's an arrangement of a very popular jazz piece, pop jazz piece called "Close to You." So many artists have covered it in the past. It's really iconic, and so I wanted to basically talk about how I arrange jazz pieces, and I've done that many times in the past. Maybe not like super many, but quite a few times already. I think most notably, probably "Fly Me to the Moon," right, is the most popular one that I've made. And I want to talk about how I do that specifically in the realm of a short jazz standard, because jazz standards really what they are. For those of you who don't know, it's just usually two parts. Let's say not always, but like usually it's two parts: the A part and the B part, and usually the form. I mean, the form can be whatever you want, but let's say it's like ABA or something. Whatever. It differs from piece to piece. Like "Fly Me to the Moon" is all just one part, but a lot of jazz pieces go from A to B. Maybe they change keys or do stuff like that. But anyway, it's always a short form in jazz, and the thing is that it repeats, and as it repeats, the harmony stays the same, but then each musician solos over the harmony, and the melody in jazz music is called the head, is how we call that. So whatever. So anyway, it's very different than arranging a classical track, or then composing or arranging a rock piece, just because the form is always different. And so the piece that I arranged, that you may have seen already, or maybe you haven't seen yet, no, maybe nobody has yet, I don't know when I post this, is "Close to You." That's the title of the piece. The melody of the piece is like, yeah, yeah, very iconic, very iconic. And then what is it? Yeah. So the way that I arrange it, just a quick showcase for you. It's like, yeah, repeat. Now it's so this is the whole arrangement. Tommy Manuel also covered it a long time ago, a much bigger, let's say, cover, much longer. Check it out, it's great. But anyway, so this is like the cover. Obviously the video is gonna be a bit more cool. This was very chill playing, just whatever. But there's some techniques which I use here, and I use in "Fly Me to the Moon" and in any other jazz thing that I do. A lot of these techniques, arranging techniques which I use, which help me do that. So for instance, let's start, right? I'm not gonna talk about the whole arrangement. Maybe I'll make tabs for it in the future if it's popular, maybe not, we'll see. But starts pretty basic. So this is the first one, immediately, like the second chord. Basically, the idea of arranging jazz always focuses around the harmony, in my opinion. The first chord is an A major 9 chord, which is whatever. I don't do anything special here. But then the second chord, it's kind of exciting, it's kind of different, right? It feels like a much stronger chord than the first one. Yeah, this is a much stronger chord. It's kind of a tense chord, right? So I really want to underline that. I really want to show that a lot. The same thing I do with Fly Me to the Moon in any sort of like diminished chord or whatever. I want to show that chord a lot. So a good way of doing that is playing an arpeggio, which is just the notes of the chord played one after the other, right? So in this case, the chord is G sharp 7. So arpeggio, like a normal playing arpeggio, would be like, yeah. It's a very common shape. There are shapes for arpeggio. So I could play like this. I could also play like this, like here, for instance. Yeah, so they are just specific arpeggios. If it was a minor 7 chord, I would play. There's always shapes for that, right? Which you can learn and you'll know it. Standard tuning, by the way. So arpeggios are again great to like make a chord last longer, draw out this nice tension that the chord provides. So again, here it's like now. Yeah, so it's really nice. Rather than playing, which is very normal and kind of expected, I play, yeah, it's really cool. It's again, it's like a more, as I said, like the tension lasts longer thanks to that. So that's the first thing which I do a lot. I do it all the time, especially Fly Me to the Moon, always I do. In this case, that isn't a tense chord, it's actually the tonic, so the least tense chord. But because it's the tonic, it finishes everything off, and it's just nice to have like a nice little riff to finish things off. So it's not only about the tension, it's just whenever I feel like it, I substitute the chords with an arpeggio. Yeah, so again, here I play it obviously with tapping, because I wanna keep the melody note ringing, so this allows me to do, but this is not an analysis of the cover or so, whatever. So the arpeggio, the first technique in arranging jazz, which is really useful, the harmonic arpeggio, let's say. Yeah, let's just play. So, and then I go, what's this? Another one, I love this one so much. So this is a descending, sort of chromatic descending thing. That's what you would call it, chromatic, because it goes stepwise. So, right, the space between the note is the smallest possible, which is a semitone in Western music. So yeah, so like sort of chromatic motion, fantastic for jazz arrangements. Like I do it so much just because there's a gap in the song and I want to fill that gap, especially for social media, which is so quick and, you know, flashy, and you want to, you know, get everywhere immediately. Yeah, you want to fill those gaps and make them cool and you know, and unique. So chromatic playing is fantastic, and in this case it's so the chord that is this chord is G sharp minor 7, just whatever I just played normally, nothing fancy here. And then the next chord in the song is this chord, which is C sharp minor 7. So this is the next chord, but I want to approach it, right, in a nice way. So the way that I approach it is chromatically from the top. So I would go, yeah, wah, 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 right? So that's what I do from the top. Obviously, I do it a bit more cool. I do it like this, yeah. It's obviously every song is different, but again, this is like chromatic approaching. Yeah. In this case, I kind of break it because I play the melody in between, but still it is an approach, right? Yep. Yeah, and then I do obviously. So this is obviously a gallop strumming thing. It's not really jazz related at all. I use it all the time, as you know, so I won't talk about it too much, but just so you know, it's... But guess what? Here I play, and then again the chromatic approach, exactly the same as before. Same thing, just a different chord, right? So the chord is, then it's I think just A, right? Yeah, just the A major. So I go B, B flat, A, da da da, right? For A. Nothing. I mean, it's really cool here. This harmonic strum. What you do is you take your index finger, you lightly press it on the strings very lightly, and then your pinky nail becomes the pick. You can do this. How do I even show this to you guys? But this is not jazz related. Again, arpeggio. Substituted the chord. The chord repeats here. I saw that in the chart, in the sheet music, if you will. I saw that the chord repeats. It's like same chord, and I don't wanna just play the same thing twice. Why would I? That's whatever. That's like, you know, I don't really care about that. So the first time I play, let's say normally, and then the arpeggio for A major 7. So this is another technique. So this was, the first one was arpeggios, the second one was chromatic approaching, and the third one is coming now to theaters near you. The third one is, the third one is taking the melody notes and adding additional chords underneath them. So in this case, the melody is like this, close to you, right? This is where it comes from. That's the melody. And the chord, really, there's basically no chord underneath that, but if there were a chord, it probably would just be E, I would guess. Just a tonic. But there are these melody notes, and you can add many chords underneath. There's like a ton of chords to add here. You know, you could argue there is all of the chords you can be added here if you really want to do that. But there's a couple of chords which will definitely work. This is a D sharp note. So underneath D sharp, one chord is G sharp, because D sharp is the fifth of that chord. And I won't get into theory here, because why would I? But it just fits, right? It just fits this chord. So I play this chord. Then the next note is B. So I put another chord underneath that chord. This time is C sharp minor, because that's the seventh. And then the final note is this one, G sharp. So and I put E major 7 underneath. So there's 3 different chords happening here, just because there's 3 different melody notes, right? And there's nothing in the chart or in the original that tells me to do this. I just did it because I felt like this melody. Look how cool this is. Sick. Because, you know, I saw those melody notes and I was like, yeah, let's put chords underneath. Same thing I did with Asturias. But this time I just did like some really weird stuff. I didn't wanna theorize too much. I just, you know, did crazy things. But here, very basic. So again, the same thing. Adding chords underneath the notes happens here. So again, this, I think there shouldn't be a chord here. Like in the melody, it just keeps on being E, right? So I play. Yeah, that's the original. That's probably how it is also in Tommy's arrangement. It's very nice and fits great. But I mean, I don't do really anything different. I also play a chord underneath, but the chord just changes to a more spicy one, this one, which is B flat half diminished, which doesn't matter at all. It's an approach to A, which is the next chord, but again, doesn't matter. So I added a chord underneath the melody notes without being asked by anyone, right? Like the music doesn't require it, but it's there, so why not, right? So yeah, again. nice thing about this chord is that both melody notes, C sharp and E, fit. It's really cool, you know, like rather than playing this actually, I play this. Much cooler. Repeat. A bit different. Arpeggio again. Another arpeggio combined with chromatic approaching. So the next chord is A, right? I approach it with B, B flat 8, same as before, but this time I kind of arpeggiate it. So I play. Then. Again, arpeggio, which finishes on the melody note, an octave higher. Very nice. Yeah, and then again. Yeah, I guess, I mean, this isn't jazz specific, it's just tapping. So here there's one thing which is kind of complex, like it's not really one thing really, but if I were to make it the fourth technique is displacing rhythms. I think it's really fun to play stuff a bit later or a bit earlier than you should play them. Obviously not out of time, I just mean that like some subdivision earlier or later. For instance, here I play then. So it becomes a kind of a chopped rhythm. In the original it would be, sorry, right, like this, yeah? Yeah, like this. Yeah, that's the rhythm, but I play it like, so actually the melody stays fine, like it's the same rhythm, which is kind of ironic, but the harmony and the bass underneath comes in at places which shouldn't come in. So it should be, yeah, but what happens is later the accent is too early now. Again, later accent kind of in a weird place here on the snare, and then this chromatic approach with the chords. Actually, this time is from below, not from above. So the rhythmic displacement here is kind of apparent. And for instance, before when I play, so like here, the melody should be, the rhythm of the melody should be, but it is actually, it's kind of sped up because I wanted to do this approach here, right? So the fourth thing is again rhythmic displacements in order to make it more interesting or input stuff that you really want to input in a certain place, right? Yeah, that's the fourth thing. I think it may be the last, but let's check out what happens in the arrangement later. So it's arpeggio here too, by the way. One hand arpeggio. Yeah, and then so here, this isn't in the original. There's no, this is a G diminished arpeggio, or an E diminished, or whatever you want it to be really. It's either G diminished, E diminished, or C sharp diminished. Or B flat diminished too. One of those. Sorry, they're the same, that's why I say that. But anyway, it doesn't exist in the original, but I know that Tommy Emmanuel plays something like this. I don't know what he plays, I didn't even listen to the arrangement when I was doing this, but he plays something to this liking, something like that, and I wanted to do it too, because it's really cool. So this is what I figured out. It is an arpeggio, and it's also a like additional chords, so it's a couple of things at once, but nothing really new, let's say. Yeah, it is also like the fifth thing, if you want, is theory, right? If you know theory, you can do cool stuff like this. Why is it cool? Because if it's a B flat diminished, if that's what we call it, which I guess I am calling it that now, a B flat diminished is an approaching, downward approaching diminished chord to B7, which is the dominant in E major, which is the key we're in. So that's why it sounds really cool and jazzy if I do. Sorry. It's like if I did, let's say, right, works, like it really works well. Right. And that's why, I know why, because I studied that, and it's good to know, because when you know it, you know what to do. I didn't have to search for any diminished arpeggio. I just remembered, oh, Tommy Emmanuel did an arpeggio, this one should work, and it did work, you know. So the fifth one is theory. So again, when I arrange jazz, it's always about the arpeggios, making the harmony drawn out a bit more with the arpeggios. The second thing was chromatic approaches, right? The third thing was, what was the third thing? And the fourth thing was rhythmic displacement. I remember that. What was the third thing? You can rewind and remember what the third thing was. Oh, adding chords underneath the melody. So harmonizing more. The third thing, the fourth thing was rhythmic displacement. And the fifth thing, if you will, is just theory knowledge. It's kind of an umbrella thing. But yeah, so that's what I wanted to share with you. A bit more technical, kind of, but also maybe it gets you closer to how I create these things, even from a layman's perspective. So yeah, so thanks guys, and hopefully I'll be back with more energy very soon. But yeah, cheers, all the best.